our first conversation. This morning, we're joined by attorney Richard Dickie. Good morning and welcome.
Pink. Orange.
Seems so.
Thank you. Morning, Kevin, and morning, Marlene.
Yeah. It's a very critical time, Dickie. Of course, we are officially 5 days away from this very historic vote.
How much?
5 days. And it is a time that we're hoping we can be able to keep our viewers as updated as possible with all the developments and have them feel more prepared to make the decision come May 8th. Let me just get your thoughts. You know, we perhaps had you here closer to the time of the injunction, and it seems that with the Easter break and the calling of the new date, there's been a slowdown in the momentum in leading up to the referendum. Do you see the same?
Yes, I think like we're kind of exhausted on this particular topic. No, it's been going for quite a while, and well, yesterday was like about light choppy 10 miles an hour. Today it looks out there like 20 miles an hour. So it goes and comes. No?
Yeah.
I think in terms of the advertisements, I heard certainly one, if not two. I heard two very creative advertisements. Why in this corner you have Guatemala unfounded claim, in this corner ironclad you knock out of this. That is creative, and that would hold the attention and imagination of voters, no?
Yeah.
I
mean, it's a last sprint. This is what it is now. And I think it is important that we can be able to remind people of how important it is to participate, first of all.
The British Empire is, in our former empire, the nation of United Kingdom is undergoing extreme stress. In June 2016, voters voted to leave the European Union. And they're still going at it in the sense that the government can't find a formula as to how to live without causing problems. So today they're reporting
a potential second referendum.
Even that, although you know it's in their country, they're worried about trying to overturn another referendum. But today, the Conservative Party and the Labour Party has suffered major losses in local government elections in that country. The voters are just actually fed up with their lack of leadership and lack of vision as to what is happening.
You connect that to the Brexit?
Go again? Yeah, in relation to leaving the European Union, what they call Britain exiting, no? Brexit. You know that is the mother country of Belize, and a part of the research in relation to the special agreement was aided by a major case in that country. When Anthony Sylvester and I came across this case, I think I mentioned it here already, Gina Miller had challenged that the government cannot go ahead and make all the arrangements to come out of the European Union. That was a matter for their parliament. Yeah. And it is out of that case that a lot of discussion took place in relation to, you can, of course, the executive can enter into treaties, but all treaties are not the same, no? All animals are equal, but some are some are different than others. So I would start off by saying, first of all, Marlene and Ken, that in Venezuela, which has been such a big help to us, in which the international media is reporting that 8 out of 10 Venezuelans are suffering from acute economic problems and poverty. 8 out of 10. And that America has said, I think day before yesterday, that everything is now on the table, including the final solution, which would be American military might going into that country. There is clearly problems in that country, and one of their big problems is that the National Assembly is opposition to the president. They have a different system of government. They have one more like America, where the president is different from the National Assembly. And so what has happened is that President Maduro has gone ahead and formed another National Assembly, since he can't work with that crowd and they can't work with him, and America has handpicked the leader of the National Assembly, Guaido, just name him the interim president of Venezuela. So I start there by saying that in Belize, it's a wonderful country that we are blessed with, that there is a referendum law. In fact, your colleague, your co-host, was part of a challenge in 2008 to propose changes to the referendum law of Belize, because Belize's referendum law had actually had in there any attempt to interfere with the fundamental rights and freedoms of Belizeans must go to a referendum. And that was a big issue at that time. In Jamaica, they actually have it in their constitution that any change to the constitution must go to a referendum. We don't have that. Our referendum law is not in the constitution. It's a regular, ordinary law. So what I was leading up to is that the referendum law had said how you can have a referendum. What are the different methods by which Belizeans can express their view in an open referendum. And one of those things in that list, in that short list, is that any proposed settlement to the Guatemalan matter, we Belizeans must, and we have always taken that like, well, they can't just go ahead without we, yeah? All right. So that referendum law was part of the challenge to the Supreme Court to say that the government had gone ahead, one, signed the special agreement in Washington with Guatemala, and two, turned it into a treaty, and three, that treaty, which is of course a binding agreement not only between us and our neighbor Guatemala, but in fact is considered binding in international law by the international community. You don't go and make treaties and start to break them. So that treaty contains in there the juice and essence of the matters that are at issue, which is that first of all, Belize and Guatemala agree that we will go to the International Court of Justice to seek a final solution to the Guatemalan problem.
If the people so decide.
And that going there will depend on whether the people in Guatemala and the people in Belize both say yes. If one says yes and one says no, it's off. And also in that special agreement is that whatever the International Court says is final and binding. In other words, the Belizean people had, under the original Referendum Act, a say in a proposed settlement. Because you can propose, this is what we're going to do, and you can say, well, boy, we're not agree, make we go back and so. Yeah?
I like what you're saying, because what it does is bring clarity to what I think people have been confused about when they say a referendum isn't binding, but this one, based on the special agreement, would be. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that once the people of Belize, none of the referendums we have are binding. Neither the old one, if you just use that term for Chapter 10, and this one which was rushed through in one day or in a couple of hours, they are not binding. But what happens with the new one, with the one that has to do with the International Court of Justice, is once we agree to go to that court, what the court says is binding.
Yeah.
That is the difference. Yeah. So
the judgment is binding.
Yeah, the judgment of the International Court of Justice. So let's use that as a segue, because the new law that was introduced to allow for this referendum is hinged on the very same special agreement that is before the court. And I want you to explain to us a bit, because what happened in the Supreme Court that allowed for the injunction and what is happening now in the Court of Appeal are two different things. And to be able to allow voters to understand where we are with the challenge of the special agreement and what potential implications it can have on the referendum.
Okay, well, there is a constitutional challenge. There is a challenge that the special agreement and everything that flows out of it is unlawful. It violates certain sections of the Belize Constitution. That is what the Honorable Cordell Hyde and Honorable Mike Espat, Honorable Oscar Kenya and Honorable Radwell Ferguson and Honorable to be
Sabani?
sorry?
Not Sabani?
No,
No,
he's not on
Mahler.
the thing. So
Anthony Mahler.
yes,
Oh, Mahler.
Antonio. What they have put their names to challenge is the unlawful, unconstitutional special agreement. Okay.
And it went to the Supreme Court.
And that matter was filed in the Supreme Court
Yes.
because of certain factors, two of which would be, one, that a research was done into this whole matter, just like
you were
out of the
involved in,
talking
yeah,
and talking. Why am I could check it? Why am I could look it up? Man, you know some merit to this thing. Man, there's more to this than we think. Or so, and as Kevin will know, as the more you read the law, the more you're realizing this is a major matter. Why is it major? One example will be, which is actually what you're leading up to, if I could jump ahead of myself. One major matter is that if you went ahead and had the referendum on the 10th of April, with all these things appearing, at least from one side, appearing that there's a whole heap of illegality and unconstitutionality involved, it would mean that you have held an unlawful referendum. That is what that would boil down to. So there was that challenge in the Supreme Court, and because of the nearness, because remember what was happening, that the People's United Party made a Hanansi way, you don't know if they, well, we know because they were saying that they're in agreement with this whole matter. The leader was saying, yes, he personally is in favor, but he's keeping his options open. He decided, following a meeting at Malacate Beach down south with the same persons whose names I mentioned, and the party leader decided, I better go with myself and see what is actually happening, because there's some kind of groundswell that people are really worried, especially down in the Southern District. So there was those two factors. What happened is they took place just this year, in February, in which it became clear to the Honorable Senator Eamon Courtney, who is the leader of government business in the Senate, leader of the opposition business in the Senate, and who is also the legal advisor to the future government, that there is, in fact, very strong merit in these matters. So that challenge went to the Supreme
Yes.
Court, okay? But along with that challenge, because the referendum is right around the corner, was also an application to stay the referendum. Because the implications of holding an unlawful referendum is a very, very serious matter.
Yeah.
You the population of a whole country. You call out all of us to go vote knowing that what happened. So the Chief Justice gave an order that there should be no referendum until the matter is tried.
But there is some clarity there, because we remember the government press release that came out immediately
Don't
after
believe them.
to clarify, and that's why I can have you clarify here on a legal basis. Because it was clear that the injunction was granted based on the discrepancies with the writ of the referendum, and not necessarily on the legality or the unconstitutionality of the special agreement itself.
Yes, because you see what you have when you're making an application to the Supreme Court. You can't ask for an injunction without, in fact, filing in the documents of the substantive issue.
Giving you reasons.
And the substantive issue, with or without an injunction, you're saying, this is what is wrong with the special agreement. This is what is unconstitutional about it. These are going to be the implications. People having property down south, don't know if they lose their property, why would they lose? A whole heap of things. That would ordinarily just be your claim in the court. Because the referendum they're right around the corner, you have to also say, listen, we can't rush ahead and go there and have them. So, okay, so first of all, don't believe anything the government says. I'm saying to your, not to you, but to your viewers and your listeners and so. Because we in Belize, we have really been lied to. We have been puppy-showed. We have been pissed and laughed at. So we have to be very skeptical.
Okay, so,
yeah?
Okay.
You don't
so
like them?
No. I was going to say, let's use your explanation, because
Yeah.
you're very good at explaining things. So when the Belizean public or the voters hear that the basis for the injunction was granted on the writ of referendum, this basic document that says go ahead with the referendum as set out in the law, and not on the other grounds of the unconstitutionality of the special agreement itself. It gives the, one would easily believe that, okay, those points perhaps were not substantial enough to merit the injunction.
No, that would not quite be factual, accurate analysis of what is happening. What happened is that here you are, the representatives of the opposition party. Key persons, I mean the deputy leader of that party, Honorable Curly Hyde, is one of the persons who has signed the document to the Supreme Court. They are saying, Honorable Supreme Court, there is some serious problems with the special agreement, as we will try to mention hopefully in the course of the discussion. And it has grave implications for the citizens of Belize, for our democracy, for our constitution, for the borders of the nation, and even in fact, whether we are in the same country when all these things come to a whole. So, that application is in asking a court, hey, hear this matter because of the thing they know. They also say, could you in the meantime, don't allow the country to hold, don't allow the government to hurry rush through the referendum because of all these implications. And they point them out. One of the things is they are holding a referendum in a couple of days' time, we need to put it on hold because of the implications. The other side comes and says, man, listen, because you see the application for the injunction says this. Make an order that the Prime Minister is not to ask the Governor General to go ahead and sign what is called
But it had
writ.
already happened. So
They come to say, CJ, then a waste of time because the Prime Minister don't ask the Governor and the Governor don't sign. And see it here, this is it right up on the screen here. See this?
one of them,
This kind of paper, I mean,
So-
you're exhibiting it. So when they exhibit that, Marlene and Kevin, when they exhibited, they found out, look, whereas Section 2(1)(d of the Referendum Act, which says so, that is a lie. That is a dirty, low-down lie because
So-
Section 2(1)(d speaks of where there is a proposed settlement, the people of Belize are to be called upon
okay.
to referendum, but there was no proposed settlement for anybody. So the thing was worse than you thought.
So I want to move it forward, and just in the interest of time, because I don't want us to repeat an old conversation as well. So moving forward to the Court of Appeal, the injunction, the referendum was still not
Right.
allowed to happen, and a new bill is introduced so that we can have the referendum. And so my question is, we still have this issue before the court.
Yep.
What does that mean? Explain to us what it means that you're still yet to argue, or still yet to go before the Court of Appeal to argue the substantial matter of the case, and the referendum is next week.
Yes, but the chronology is one lead factor, which is that the Chief Justice gave an injunction.
Yes.
The government appeals that decision.
Yes.
So the matter is in the higher court. Supreme Court make a decision, you're not satisfied, you don't curse up the judge, you go to the higher court. So the matter is moved into the higher court with a cross appeal as well. Okay. So then, the next step that happens is that, because remember we were being told, listen, the Prime Minister said, I want the court to meet on Monday, that will be the Court of Appeal, and hand out their decision on Tuesday on the matter. As it is, he found a better way. He don't want Madura pan way. He come and ignore the referendum law, ignore what has been said by the Supreme Court, ignore that the matter is on appeal in the Court of Appeal, and he come with one new law, which is passed in the National Assembly within a few hours. Because they meet something like 10 o'clock, and after the yaka by 1, 2 o'clock, basically the eyes have it.
But
So a new law is passed.
where I wanted to go was forward, exactly forward. In terms of, it seems to me that this whole conversation about the court case is sort of neither here nor there per se, as the prosecutors at the magistrate's court would say. It has no relevance because, to the extent that it is an old conversation in that we're having the referendum in 5 days. And so if you're distracted by that old story which has no bearing on your vote, if you sit down home and no vote, or if you believe somehow that you question the process of the exact referendum next week, you really would have been missing the boat. So to be beating up your chest now as the opposition to say, why will we win an injunction back then, wouldn't you agree that it has really no bearing for the next 5 days?
No, man.
Legally, none
I
whatsoever.
think, yeah, that's an excellent...
In fact, as I understand it, all the court matters have been adjourned until June. It's like a month after we have already voted.
So?
That's exactly my point. So what does that mean?
If you go to
things don't happen already?
Hold on. If you go to the court and say, I'm on the bill for my fence, and they say to him, stop bill because we need to deal with this matter. And he decide, well, you know what, the part of the fence we don't put on your land, and I touch it again, I want to go deep on the next one. I go continue the rest again. You know where I catch him? He is wasting his money, because if the court say you're building an unlawful fence on that man's property, you have to break down all of that. So what you are saying and what Marlene is saying, let's jump to that, is this, that we are still a nation, God be praised, which is a nation of laws. And as much as politicians and governments, they come around a strong way and do what they want and a lot of time get away with it. What is involved in this is this. What is involved here, Marlene, is your system of government, is your very governance, is your respect for their processes and procedures. It is like after a while you say, guess what, why bother go to the National Assembly to pass a law? Because at the same man they go over there and holler the eyes have it. Why bother with that? Stay with the cabinet and say this law pass and tell the governor. That's the one of the try to say, like, listen, no, because what is involved in this is this. Even if the government has come with another referendum act, just for the purpose of making sure we have a referendum, and as this matter winds itself through the court, which will more than likely end up in the Caribbean Court of Justice, and they say that the whole process was unlawful and unconstitutional.
Well, see, and let me just be very clear here, because yes. I don't want to dismiss any process that is currently ongoing in the country, because it is of national importance. The reason I'm asking you about the court case is very simple. The new referendum law clearly states that the referendum is being called in accordance with the special agreement, a special agreement that is still before the court.
Very important, yeah.
And that's why I think we need to be able to at least say what the possibilities are. And Dickie, I'm sure, I don't know if you'll say it, but I'll say it. There's also the possibility that it goes nowhere, that it's deemed completely constitutional and that the referendum is valid. But there's also the flip side. And as we've been asking for in the campaign, we want to know both possible outcomes as to what it can be.
Yes, well, okay. So we say the government has done what Madura, pushed the referendum act and the TJ's decision in relation to the injunction one side and proposed a new law, which was passed within hours. Nobody saw it. The country didn't get a chance to speak it. The committee of the House didn't. A whole lot of things are wrong about that. That is wrong in a democracy, and we need to start to see that, yeah? If the PUP do it, or the new crowd that is coming up, which has really shown and deserve a whole heap of praise, and I understand that you have had representatives from the Belize Peace Movement on your show. Listen, this already happened, you know. This is like the formation of a guerrilla army, or a bunch of ragtag people with cha-cha-cha, like the Vietnamese had done to America. Stop the government. They put a halt to the government propaganda. Yes, to the ICJ, then come and say, no man, lot of things involved. So then your question is crucial. So let's deal with that right now. The new law that was rushed through in this country in a matter of hours one Friday, because you know the Senate is a rubber stamp, no care where they say they can't stop the House of Representatives. So this piece of legislation was passed within a few hours on a Friday. And it is under this that another referendum is being held on another day, 10th of April gone. Okay, you have made the important observation and stated it, that this law is being specifically said and is being held under the special agreement, section 3, go into details. But come on, man, it's a special agreement which is at the core of the concern of the opposition leaders who are the ones who have gone to court. You are really disrespecting democracy when listen now, you know, you would know, because we're trained the same place in the law, that they have what they call busybody in the UK. There are people who challenge everything. This is a serious matter. So Marlene, if, as this law says and as it is doing and is going to do on Wednesday, going under the special agreement, for which there are many case law, meaning there are judgments in countries in regards to the same and similar issues. And those pronouncements are what has caused a whole battery of attorneys. You can't say, boy, Dickie barely can read this and like, they can't hear the try stop it and come up with this. Boy, this Anthony Damian PUP Senator 110. So no. This is a whole, another set of lawyers have read everything there is to read on this matter and have said that this is a strong case. This is a strong legal case. So comes to your issue. Okay, the government is determined they will have a referendum. They're having it this coming Wednesday. I'm surprised when you tell me 5 days, the holiday we're gone to the sea. I just disoriented. I'm only hearing waves and I only see white water and so. 5 days from now, there'll be a referendum. And if the government's intention is that people, the majority vote yes, then it no matter after that anymore. The matter will go to the...
What doesn't matter? What doesn't matter anymore?
The arguments and the discussions as whether we should go or not go.
Oh,
that
okay, yes, it
will
puts
be
an end to
settled.
whether we should go or not.
What will matter is that in the courts of the land, today, Friday, the Court of Appeal has sent out notice to the lawyers on both sides to come to court at 10 o'clock to do case management for the matters in front of the Court of Appeal. Case management is today. So who the rush? Might the rush because of other reasons. Now, I want to just take 2 minutes and make this point.
Oh, we had quickly out of time.
Already?
So, yes.
Oh man, I thought like yeah. Let me tell you something. There is a law called the Finance and Audit Act. It seeks to protect taxpayers' money, which is next to our land and our oil and our minerals, is the next most important thing. And that had created a major problem for the previous government. The PUP government ran into trouble because the opposition was so aggressive and energetic and so organized about why the man they abuse up money and then they use up social security money and da. They have done 1,000 times worse. But the situation is that when government changed in 2008, the UDP government, which is still in office right now, passed an amendment to the Finance and Audit Act to say it's a criminal offense for you to do certain things in regards to the taxpayers' money. And they thought we were going to broke the law, violate the law. Now I want to make this point. When it appeared that there was going to be some kind of challenge to the misuse of Hugo Chavez's money that he had been helping Belize with, we get over $400 million from Venezuela, special deal, you know. In case of our sister country, Jamaica, the billions. But listen to this. They rushed up and decided to pass all kind of law, if you could go back into the history of that matter. Where has it gotten us? Where? So the question that you are asking, which is the core of the question, so what does it mean because there will be a referendum? So it means that if the matter goes to court and it is successful, we would have seen bad governments take advantage of the people and of the system, because you can wait, man. Guatemala postponed their referendum not once but twice. What is the big issue in front of us?
Well, I think clearly, and I understand Kevin's point, we don't want to let people think don't participate. You have to participate, or you should, not have to.
Yeah.
But the point is, I think we also need to have a clear understanding of what the implications can be. So if there is a no vote come Wednesday, what happens with this court case?
It continues.
It continues with or whether
because,
even though the process has been stopped.
Well, let's back up and look at that. I can't speak for the representatives of the People's United Party. I can't say that. There's a major issue of governance and legality that is involved, because one of the matters, Marlene, which is of signal importance, which me personally and my son separately, he's a different person, hours and hours of reading these things. The government, any government can go and sign a treaty. That is part of the duty of the executive branch. Some treaties you just can't get the executive, the out there, they sign a treaty and bind us affect our rights and affect the laws of our country, there has to be somewhere we have some kind of check and balance in our system. This is about governance, it's about how the country will run. I just to try to give you an example in a short space of time of $400 million. So you're asking the question, Shari.
So, Dickie, I wanted to broaden, I didn't want to lose this opportunity on this side of the referendum vote, because this is probably the last time we're going to have this conversation with you until after the referendum. I wanted to broaden it. I really, really wanted to broaden it from a legal standpoint. Because one of the things we had wanted to talk about this morning was also the Diaspora bill. But we're not going to get to that. My question really...
We are not?
It's going to be, we're going to have a part 2 and 3. But my question is, the chickens seem to have come home to roost in terms of...
On who?
Belizeans.
On the country?
On the country. All our weaknesses seem to be at play when it comes to this referendum and a special agreement. We registering weak, get exposed. Or parliamentary system of signing international documents got exposed. Or referendum act got exposed. Or inability to adjust and listen to different suggestions, because this wasn't a legal case first, you know. Mr. Sylvester and yourself first gave a legal opinion, boss, look on this. Before we're gonna quote, if you agree with it, then do what you need for do, correct everything and we move on. Now, our Elections and Boundaries Department, the re-registration has been exposed in terms of its already frail and vulnerable provisions and infrastructure has taken an overload with this. What opportunities do you see now in terms of, let me throw in one other thing, the lack of reform of the law, because some of these things could have been avoided if the law simply had been reformed before and updated. What opportunities do you see that after this referendum we can sit down and say, listen, these were the areas that were bad, make we fix things? What are those areas where at least that we should sit back down?
It's an academic discussion. It's not going to happen. But I would want to just add to your list of woes that also what has been exposed, and thank goodness the media still exists, because it's only Creme Radio and Marlene's show and Plus TV. All the other media has gone fully in favor of what the government is doing. There's no criticism, there's no review. I think one of the great shortcomings that has come out is the weakness of our institutions. And I would also think that personally, me, and I have to drag you into this, when I went to the University of the West Indies, Marlene, I think like, I must have failed some of my subjects then, because there are regular discussions. Muta Baruka is invited to UWI campus to talk to us. Chede Jagan comes in, who was in charge of Guyana, come and sit down with students. I met Michael Manley personally 2 different times, where I could sit down with him a few minutes. I went buy over for him book then just so that he could autograph my book. I was so impressed with him. I don't want to get into name calling. I met all these people because there were discussions, there were forums, there was interaction between the campuses and so. We have Galen University in Belize, we have the University of Belize where me and you pay for with our taxes. And then we have a branch of this fantastic university for the region, right here in Belize. We have no discussion. Crime has overtaken the society. Poverty is eating away at the fabric. A whole list of things. And nobody is informed and educated. Now here comes, I passed yesterday and I said, wow, look at that. Indulge me. 4 prime ministers are saying yes. 5 foreign ministers are saying yes. Why couldn't we have 4 foreign ministers say, yes, we will bring poverty down by 50% in 5 years. Yes, we will increase jobs every year by 500 for all these kids who are coming out of school. Yes, 4 prime ministers agree that every young person will go to college, 6th form, and learn a skill in the process. Yes, to a volunteer element where when we have destructive hurricanes, flood, and even the threat of war, we can call up 2,000-3,000 young people who are trained, disciplined. No. But when you suit the purpose, yes to something people don't even know. We are poorly educated and informed about Guatemala and this whole issue.
Well,
can you imagine that? How could we?
Can I just say you gave us the perfect segue to our next
next
two
segment.
segments?
Yes.
Because the second segment will be with history teachers from University and Sixth Form,
University of Belize, University of Belize.
and also young people talking about the campaigns that we've seen over the past few months. Dickie, we ran out of time so quickly on this one. I don't know how that happened, but we
throw the diaspora on side.
But we got some other people waiting, and we appreciate you coming in and having been a part of the discussion as we prepare for this very important vote. Thank you once again. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking to educators about the upcoming ICJ referendum and the historic cramming session we all collectively did as Belizeans in the past few months. So please stay tuned.